Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Life in General podcast. My name is Nick. My name is Ian.
And I'm beekeeping age.
I just figured I'd do it before you did it.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, I'll go take a nap. You do the whole show by yourself. Do both parts.
So I'll talk like this, and then when it's Ian's turn, I'm like, "Hi guys, my name's Ian."
That's not how I sound.
That's not how I sound.
Is it how I sound?
Is that how I sound?
Shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm going to go home.
And I'm out of here. What's going on, Ian?
Nothing. Other than you making me cry. Hurting my feelings.
Hurting your feeling?
Yes. No.
Your one and only feeling?
Yeah. I don't really have feelings. I'm dead inside.
It's my one and only feeling is sadness.
Yeah. More like indifference to everything.
Ian is Eeyore.
That's what everyone says. I don't get it.
Going to a party.
Yeah, see, I would never go to a party. Not anymore. I'm too old for parties.
I haven't been to a party in a long time. Like,
Yeah.
I'm too old for all that shit. I mean, it's funny, like, everyone at work is like, everyone's getting married, and I'm like, I'm so glad I'm past all this stage. I don't fucking go to weddings and shit anymore.
Well, I mean,
I guess I'm going to start getting to the age where, like,
your kids,
people's kids will be getting married,
exactly.
But
you know, your kids will get married eventually.
God, weddings are fucking expensive, man.
Yeah, you don't have to pay for it.
I know, but there's somebody that we work with. I mean, she's spending over $30,000 on her wedding.
Yeah, see, I don't understand that at all.
I know people that spent over $60,000 on the wedding.
I know. I
which
don't
is
understand.
Fucking stupid.
I know they're spending all this money, and to be fair, I mean, not statistically speaking, they've got like what, only a 60% chance of the marriage lasting,
Something
right?
like that.
So it's just so much money to spend on a fucking party.
I know. I used to work with a guy that I don't remember how much he spent on his wedding, but he spent a lot. And when he got divorced, he was still paying off his fucking wedding.
Right. And that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's like, I get it. Have a party. But you don't need to spend that kind of money for a good party.
So someone we work with, she was going back and forth over place settings for the tables. She's like, oh, I don't know. Like 15 minutes, she talked about these damn place settings. Finally, I was like, look, 20 years from now, you're not going to remember what the fucking place settings were.
Right.
You're not going to remember any of that shit.
You'll see it in a picture and go, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like, who fucking... Don't waste your fucking time and energy on that.
Right.
I don't know. Do it. And Manny and I did our wedding as cheap as we could.
Right.
And it
You
was
still
fine.
spent quite a bit, though. I know you did it as economically as possible, but
I want to say it was probably still $10,000.
yeah. Which, I mean...
And we had a big fucking... We had like 350 people at our wedding.
Right.
That was 2002, so...
Right. So, I mean, things were a little cheaper then.
a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Especially gas.
Yeah.
Thanks, Biden.
Stop it! Because I wouldn't be saying that if it was Trump. I wouldn't say thanks, Trump, to the gas prices being high.
No, because the president of the United States has nothing to do with gas in France.
Right.
Gas in France right now. There's someone posted a fucking picture. All right, here's my segment for how much I fucking hate social media.
Yeah, let's get into it. Weddings really don't interest me anyway. Your wedding was fun. You guys.
Yeah, there were people having sex in the bathroom during my reception.
Yeah, you had a good wedding. You guys had a good one.
So someone posted a picture, and they were like, "Oh, look at the gas in France." I think it was in France, and the gas was like $1, or actually it was like 1 point whatever euros. But I'm like, no, that's per liter. There's 3 of those in a fucking gallon, and with the exchange rate, that makes gas like $7 fucking a gallon
at least.
You fucking tool bag.
Right. Well, first of all, you can excuse them for not understanding that there's the metric system and all that.
Yeah.
Because Americans are fucking idiots.
Yeah.
But beyond that, even once you explain it to them, they still don't fucking get it.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, you're right. It's $1 something a liter. But yes,
ours is, if you go by liter, it's like
it's like
about the same,
around
I guess.
$1, less than $1, or €1 a liter or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the exact exchange rate was,
Right.
but because the pitcher was like $1.76 or something like that. Yeah, the way it factored out, it was like $6.50 or $7 a gallon. So, I mean, we're not that far off from that. But back to my original point, Joe Biden has nothing to do with the gas prices in France.
None whatsoever.
He has nothing to do with the gas prices in Germany.
He really has nothing to do with the gas prices in Michigan.
No, he doesn't. And if I hear one more person say, "Well, he went in there and shut off all the pipelines,"
no,
which is
he's
not
asking
true.
he's asking these people to fucking start them up.
So they canceled a bunch of oil drilling permits because they weren't being fucking used.
Right. And the ones that are still there, there's ones that they have that they're not using.
Yes.
So it's not his fault.
No.
It's the oil companies gouging us across the board.
Absolutely. I don't remember what the price of oil is per barrel right now, but like a week or two back, it was like at $120 some a barrel.
Yep.
And I saw I was reading something online about it, and it said that the last time that oil was that price, gas was like $3.15 or $3.25 a gallon. Mm-hmm. And at that time, it was like $4 something a gallon. Like you can't tell me that that's all inflation, because it's not.
It's not. No, because I always thought that oil was kind of inflation safe because it was all based on a single price.
Yeah.
Price of the barrel.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really have anything to do with inflation. It has to do with stock market and where the price of the crude is.
And inflation changes the price
based on the taxes.
Yeah. Well, and the value of the dollar. Like if the dollar isn't worth as much, or
why would that affect if a barrel of oil is $120 a barrel?
Well, inflation changes that because it makes everything more expensive. So,
that changes inflation.
Yes.
It's not affected by inflation. It affects inflation.
Well, it can be affected by inflation also. It
should be in the other direction because it raises the cost of everything else, so people start driving less.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't so far.
No,
I mean, the demand is through the fucking roof, and it has been. But that's the one thing is like I'm tired of them comparing things to 2020. You can't compare what happened or what's going on now to what happened in 2020, because in 2020 everything was fucking closed down.
Right.
The demand there was no fucking demand.
Exactly.
There was me on the fucking highway by myself driving to work. And it was so fucking nice.
Yeah, I know. It was the only upside of the fact that we didn't, it was business as usual for us.
Yeah.
There was no stay home for 6 months. There was no, and I'm glad about that. I get a steady paycheck and all that, and I didn't have to go through the government to get my money. But ultimately, we were completely unaffected by shutdowns.
Yeah.
We still had to go to work every day. It was the same for us. But the upside was the roads were clear.
Yes, it was great.
At all times of the day. Yeah, it didn't even matter.
So nice.
You might get a little bit of congestion in the afternoon, but generally speaking, there was nobody on the roads. It was so nice.
Speaking of like pandemics and things like that, Mandy and I were talking just recently, and she even made a comment, like, I don't remember exactly what she said, but something along the lines of, with all these places that are looking for help, where are all the workers? And my response was, well, a lot of them died, Mandy. 1 million people in the United States fucking died over the last couple of years. And there was a study that was done out of, I think it was one of the Florida universities. It might have been the University of South Florida or Central Florida, but they looked at deaths just in the first year of the pandemic prior to vaccinations. Mm-hmm. And they found that a majority of the people that died were actually working poor people that weren't able to take time off from the work. They also don't have things like sick pay or health care, and they said that a lot of those people were the people that died that first year.
Right.
So if you look
at that's where the job market is like really hurting right now.
Yes. Mm. Exactly. Yep. So, it kind of makes you can look at it and say, oh yeah, unemployment's at 4% or whatever it is, and we're still having all these all these worker shortages. People need to stop saying, because I see we work with somebody that I've seen them in the last 3 days. He's posted on Facebook at least a couple of different times about, people need to go back to work. People are fucking working. People aren't generally, for the most part, aren't sitting at home anymore.
Right.
There's just a lot of dead people that aren't there to fucking work anymore.
Right.
It's like the COVID snap. Like, just wiped out 1 million fucking people. I mean,
it probably could have done more.
Yeah. And yes, a lot of the people that died were over or no longer work. They were older people and things like that. But I want to say like the study showed that like it was like 40% or 45% of the people that died were average working age people. So even if so
that's still 450
or 400 to 450,000 fucking people that are gone.
Right. Right out of the workforce.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I get it. And that you also have to figure there's a good percentage of people who didn't die but are suffering extreme health conditions because of it, because we know that a lot of people were basically disabled as a result of it.
So, we worked with somebody that was.
Did we? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he lost his leg to blood clots because of COVID.
Oh, I know who that. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. So there's that too. So we say 400 million or 400,000 people out of the workforce as a result of the pandemic, but there's probably a larger percentage of people that are still alive.
Probably not a lot. Maybe that number might go from 400,000 to 410,000, or something like that.
I think only 10,000 people are suffering disability as a result of COVID.
Yeah, I mean the number's not that big. No, not 2 years in. Probably not. I'm talking about people that like absolutely can't work because of long COVID and things like that.
I don't know, because it seems like that would apply to mostly younger to middle-aged people who.
And I might be off, but I'm sure it's not a huge number.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think it's going to raise it from 400 to 500,000. I mean, I don't think there's anything quite like that. I mean, sure, it's probably.
Well, think about this.
Maybe it's. I would say it's probably 10 to 30,000 people.
How many people do you think actually got COVID? Not just the ones who died, but across the board in the United States.
How many people do we have? 3 billion? 3.5 billion?
Yeah, say 350 million is probably a good average.
I would probably say 90% of the people in the United States.
Okay, so if 90% of the people in the United States got it, whatever the percentage that died, the percentage of the people who got it, got over it, and are fine, there's got to be a percentage that's large.
It's a small percentage.
You really think so?
Well, because the people that died is a small percentage.
Yeah, but it's a small percentage, but it's still 1 million people.
Yeah.
So a small percentage could still be 200,000 people.
I think it's probably a fraction of a percent of the people that.
We'll have to look into it and see, because like I said, I don't know. I mean, I'm not, and I don't look at those statistics.
Yeah.
I do know how it's affected. The death toll has affected the workforce, but I don't. I'm just curious what the disability.
Like I said, I'm sure that there is a disability aspect there. But I just probably. Going off of what we've seen and some of the stuff I've read, I just don't think the number is that huge. Are there people that are still suffering,
side effects,
after having it a year plus ago? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm not trying to trivialize anything that they've gone through. I just don't think that number is going to be really all that huge.
Well, I'll look into it and see. I'm just curious because I just don't know what to look at on Google right now.
Yeah. Well, don't look at Fox News.
Oh God,
don't look there.
I know what sources to look at and what not to look at, and I always try to look at multiple sources anyway. So.
Yeah. Well, the problem is there's not a lot of great data out there.
Seems like there should be plenty of data because we've been studying it for 2 fucking years.
Well, data as far as like cases and things like that, because there's a lot of states that don't report anymore.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but still.
And there's not
the hospitals still have to report, don't they?
I don't think there's any kind of mandatory reporting that has to go on anymore.
Through the CDC?
Well, for certain states.
But I thought all the hospitals still had to report to the CDC.
But if you're not testing people, what's there to fucking report?
Well, I mean, we test almost everybody.
That's us. A lot of hospitals are not like that.
No. Just seems like that should be kind of standard.
Well, I mean, yeah, but this far into it, I mean, it's just, I don't know.
No one cares anymore?
Some states, no. Some states, you're right. Some states don't care about it anymore. Some states haven't cared about it for
Since
2 years.
Yeah.
Ever since a certain somebody said there was nothing to worry about, not to wear a mask.
Yeah.
But
then a million people died.
Yeah, no, we aren't here to talk politics or anything. This is supposed to be an easy.
You're the one who brought it up.
Did I bring it up?
You brought it up. I didn't bring it up.
What did I start talking about?
Well, you brought up the gas prices, and then you jumped into things to bitch about
social media.
Social media.
Because
you started by saying thanks, Biden. And I said, I hate when people do that, and that's when you jumped into it. So.
Some bitch.
It's all you, man.
We're here to talk TV shows.
From the 90s.
From the 90s. And whether or not the 90s were like the golden age of primetime television. Because
Which would be kind of like mostly sitcom type shows.
Yeah. But if you think about it, like as far as like 90s shows go, there's a lot of them that, in 2022 are still very fucking popular.
Well, I mean, the biggest one obviously is Friends.
Yeah.
And we could argue The Simpsons too because they started in '89. That's close to the 90s.
There's a website. Well, finish what you're saying.
Well, I was going to say Rolling Stone actually released their top 100 sitcom list. Guess where Friends was?
Number 20.
30.
Okay, I was close, yeah.
I don't see how that's even possible.
I don't think so either. So,
and I mean, just some of the shows that came after, it's like, no, there's no fucking way. I don't know. I've seen a lot of Rolling Stones lists, like top 100 lists. I'm starting to not trust Rolling Stone anymore.
Absolutely.
I don't know who's coming up with these fucking lists because they're just way off.
Well, this one came out in January of this year from SWNS Digital. I don't know who they are, but it says Americans crown these decades as the golden age of television. So basically they give like a list of, and this was all done through, I think it was all done through like social media polls for America's favorite TV shows. And they've got 20 of them listed. Number 1 was Friends.
Okay.
Number 2 was Seinfeld.
Yeah.
So there's another. I mean, it's a huge.
It was a huge show. Yeah.
Game of Thrones was 3. Three's Company was 4. Frasier was 5. Then The Office, MASH, Battlestar Galactica was at number 8. Was
the new version, right?
It just says Battlestar Galactica.
It's probably the new version.
The Simpsons and then The Wire. So that was your top 10.
Rolling Stone. The only one they got right was they had Simpsons at number 1.
Yeah.
I can see that. I don't know if I'd go that far, but it's close. It's close to 1 for me. So.
For Australian comedy in this top 20 are from the 90s. 5, 6, and so 7 of the top 20 were from the 90s.
Okay.
So,
what is that, about 35%?
Something like 7 out of 20. Something like that. Yeah. So a decent share of it. But the 90s shows, like I said, they're huge. Everyone still watches. A lot of people still watch Friends. I still watch ER pretty regularly.
Well, and they've rebooted a lot of those shows too. I mean, Will and Grace was rebooted from the 90s. They'll never reboot Friends, but that's kind of a testament to Friends too, because it's unrebootable.
Yeah,
it's kind of timeless in its own way.
I don't know if I'd like to see them reboot it, but I don't know. I keep
seeing these pictures with it's Jennifer Aniston, the girl grown up who was Emma, Cole Sprouse who was Ben, and Ross. I'm blanking on his real name. He's Ross. He's always Ross to me. But
I'm blanking.
It's weird. Oh my God,
What the
that's
fuck is-
terrible.
That is terrible. But anyway, go
It's
ahead. with
Ross, but like a family photo with them like all cropped in.
this. Oh, I think I've seen that.
But I'm seeing a lot of that lately, and I'm thinking, I can see how they could do it, but there's no way they're going to get everyone back.
David Schwimmer.
David Schwimmer, yeah.
God, why couldn't I think of his fucking
Oh my,
name?
yeah. I mean, all the other ones are right there in my head,
Yeah.
but yeah, Schwimmer I couldn't figure. But
Well, because two of them are Matts, but
yeah, that's true. But I think I've seen all the other ones in other roles more than I've seen him in other roles.
David Schwimmer, yeah, he was.
he's done some big roles,
some stuff, but it's nothing's been really
Right.
huge. Well, I guess Matthew Perry hasn't done a whole lot. He's had a couple of, I think, good sitcoms since then.
Yeah, they just don't.
They just don't
catch on.
No, there was one sitcom where it was like his wife died and he was
Yeah.
like in a support group.
Yep.
That
I think
was-
it was called Support Group
No,
or the group or something.
no,
like that.
I don't remember the name of it. Then there was another one where he was the owner of a hockey rink in Florida.
I never saw that one.
That one was a good one too. I think that only lasted for like a season.
I think the Support Group one only lasted a season.
Yeah, that's all they ever did. I was trying to see what if I can scroll through his biography here. It was
I swear it was called Support Group or the Group or just
I'll
Group.
I'll tell you here in a second. He did Mr. Sunshine, which
Okay.
was the one with the rink.
Okay.
That lasted 13 episodes.
Okay.
Oh, the other one was called Go On. That's what it was.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that actually lasted 22 episodes.
Which was a full
season.
Yeah.
But Go On was good.
Yeah, I liked
thought
what
Go On was
I
good.
didn't see all of them, but I liked it. I liked what it was, where it was leading.
But those are like the biggest things he's done since.
But he was in the whole 9 yards in the sequel, and he was in those.
But those were like during Friends, though.
True, but I can associate him outside of Friends.
Yeah.
Courtney Cox with Scream and Cougar Town and all that. I can associate her
Yeah.
outside. Jennifer Aniston, all the movies she's done.
They've all kind of had like
Matt Perry,
post
LeBlanc.
Friends, yeah. Post Friends, they've all kind of done something, except for David Schwimmer. Like
Right.
he hasn't.
Well,
really,
he did that Breastmen movie, and
which it was okay.
He's
but-
done a lot of like independent stuff, like
Yeah.
under the radar kind of stuff that he's
Yeah.
gotten a lot of acclaim for, and he's done a lot of directing too.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's not doing stuff, but and then I mean Lisa Kudrow she's done two big sitcoms that lasted.
Yeah, she had the
multiple
one on HBO there for a while.
where she was like a
The-
psychiatrist, a radio psychiatrist or something.
What was it called? It wasn't the reunion, but it was something like that.
Yeah. I don't know, but she was like, I remember there was one where she was a radio psychologist, and then she had another show.
The
that
Comeback, that's what it was.
and then she did another show that I never watched.
Yeah, she did the Comeback in 2005 and 2014. So I guess she only did 2 seasons of that, and then she did Web Therapy from
That's
2000,
the one I'm thinking. of.
2008 to 2015. So she did that for
So
a while.
7 years, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, like I said, David Schwimmer's just less out there in terms of like other things to identify him with. That's why why it's so hard to do this. So, but either way, a Friends spin-off that doesn't involve the original cast would be questionable, but if done right in the right circumstances and the stars align, it could work. It's hard because then you have the option of bringing on
I don't think they would ever be able to do a spin-off.
Yeah, well, they tried. Joey.
And Joey was good.
I know. I like Joey. I didn't see the second season though.
No, the second season wasn't as good as the first, but there were seasons of Friends that weren't
Right.
the greatest. I mean, they were still good. They were still better than what Joey was, but Joey
Right.
Joey was it was good.
It just wasn't as good as Friends. You know?
I think the downfall with Joey was they moved him.
Yeah,
They moved him to California.
but they had to because they had to make it harder to explain or easier to explain why no one else is showing up.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't if he stayed in New York, there'd be no reason why you wouldn't see Chandler.
Yeah.
At least Chandler. You know.
But they could do things where those people would still be occasionally on the show. Like they've all done each other's fucking sitcoms anyway.
True.
I think all of them have been on Cougar Town, I believe, except for I think all of them have, actually.
I know Matt Perry was. I don't think Jennifer Aniston was
No, maybe she wasn't. Everyone else was, though.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think they could have done it, even if it was like he fucking moved to upstate. He moved to, Buffalo or something like that, which it wouldn't have worked with his career. But
exactly,
I don't know.
California made sense because he was an actor.
Yeah.
What doesn't make sense is that he would never have moved to California.
No,
Joey of Friends would not have moved away from the Friends.
Else, yeah.
I mean, they did have the family dynamic, but still,
they could have.
It was a little out of character.
Yeah, they could have done something where, he gets his big break and he's a big movie actor and he's like on a set in Vancouver or something like that for because they do that. If you're off shooting a movie, you might be on a set for 9 months.
Right.
They
or even a TV show.
Yeah.
He got a new TV show, but it's filmed in Vancouver. So when the show's on, when we're watching it, it's in Vancouver.
Yes.
And then he goes back to New York in the off season.
Yes, exactly.
So.
Yeah, they could have done something like that, and I think I don't know.
I think that
some of the dynamics in the Joey show with the other castmates, it wasn't what Friends was, and it was.
Well, they changed a little bit of the backstory with the sisters too, because which sister was that?
Yeah, none of them.
Right, exactly. So they, there's things. The problem with Friends is the same problem you get with a lot of spinoffs, because if you're doing a spinoff, you're doing it because the show is super popular, and Friends was ultra popular. Yeah. So they probably didn't think they could go wrong.
Yeah.
And they maybe didn't put as much effort into the thought process as they should have.
Yeah. I wonder if the show had the same showrunners and all that stuff.
It did, as far as I know. Yeah. At least Marta Kaufman and
what's his name?
Yeah, the three Kaufman something. I don't remember.
Yeah, whoever those three were.
Their names show up at the end of the episodes.
At the end of it,
I'm usually skipping to the next episode at that point, but.
But yeah, it was something that I think if they would have done it differently, it might have worked better.
Maybe.
That's why I think if they were going to do something, I think they would have to reboot it. I would like to.
That would be dangerous too, though. I think.
Do you think?
To get the same type of chemistry that
you're never going to have that kind of chemistry. You're never. Going to
and I think when you say reboot, I mean basically just taking that concept and making it 21st century.
Yeah. And they don't have to have the same characters.
No, but I mean, we still have to have similar dynamics to be a reboot. You'd still have to have the 3 girls, the 3 boys. I mean, not necessarily. You can mix that up, but it's still we're talking about 6 people roughly. And they kind of already did that with How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, How I Met Your Mother was very similar.
It was very similar to Friends. Yeah.
I mean, it had its different moments because it was, basically the whole show was a flashback and.
Was it?
Yeah. Well, it's him.
I never watched the whole
it's
thing.
Him telling
I've seen episodes, but
it's
never.
him telling his kids the story of how he met their mother. It just took 9 seasons to get there.
God. So it's a hell of a long story.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because they have all these inserts where the kids are the point of view of the dad looking at the kid sitting on the couch, looking at him telling the story, and I guess they film tons of hours of that so that they would have the kids at the same age.
Oh,
right at the beginning. So, because otherwise the kids would be the boy would have a fucking beard.
He's like, Dad, I'm over your fucking story. You've been telling it for a decade.
The girl's pregnant with her 3rd kid. So
that's hilarious.
So and they did it right. But as far as the dynamic of the show, there's a lot of similarities between the shows, between those 2 shows.
Yeah, I never watched it. Maybe
there's enough differences to make it worth watching, but it's not as good as Friends, in my opinion.
But ER is another one of those 90s shows that just went on fucking forever, man. I mean, 15 seasons. And they had a lot of cast changeover in that show. I mean, the cast was pretty much...
It was completely different by the end.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But, it stayed pretty much the same for the first 4.5 seasons.
Right. Well, and then just
before George Clooney left.
Yeah, look at how all these shows that are still on from the 90s, though, too. I mean, Family Guy, Simpsons.
Yeah. Simpsons started in the 80s, but yeah.
89. I mean, it's close enough.
I know.
I said that earlier. Yes. Is it a 90s show? Yes. Did it start in the 80s? Yes, by one fucking year. Yeah. It's a 90s show.
But there's also other hugely popular 80s shows, 90s shows. Frasier is a hugely popular show.
Which is an example of a spinoff doing well.
Yeah. Sopranos is still hugely popular. Well, no, that was 2000s, wasn't it?
Yeah, that didn't start
sorry.
till like
I was thinking it started
2001. I think.
I was thinking it started in 99, but you're right. It was early 2000s it started. What's another? Sex in the City was in the 90s, wasn't it?
I believe so, but I never watched it really.
Neither did I. But that's another hugely popular one.
But Law and Order. Didn't Law and Order start in the 90s?
Yeah.
I mean, that's had tons of spinoffs, and it's still technically going strong because they just brought it back the original, and SVU started in the 90s too, didn't it?
Yeah.
And that's still going strong.
Did SVU start in the 90s?
I think it did. I'm gonna look it up though because I don't know.
I know the original one did.
Oh yeah.
And that like the new season of Law and Order, I thought it was pretty fucking good. I don't know if they're gonna do another season of it though. I was happy.
Sam Waterston's supposed to be coming back, so I think
I read he was only coming back he was only doing this one season.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw something.
Maybe something changed about it, and he decided he's going to come back and do more. I would like to see him kind of continue, but
let's see.
What are you looking up?
I was just looking. Law and Order premiered September 13th, 1990.
Yeah, I knew that.
Looking at the spinoffs here.
Just go to Wikipedia.
I am on Wikipedia.
Oh,
I know what I'm doing.
You're a bad Googler.
I am not a bad Googler. SVU started in 2011. Oh, no.
No, it didn't.
No, it didn't. When did it start?
It started in 1999.
Yeah. That's what I said.
Yeah, that's exactly what you said. So, yeah, I think that's kind of along the same lines as The Simpsons. It started in 99. I don't really consider it a 90s show, though.
You just gave me shit because The Simpsons started in the 80s, thereby making it an 80s show. Not a 90s show.
No, but I agreed with you, though.
But then, I
agreed with you.
It sounded like you just completely didn't.
No, I agreed with you. SVU was around for 3 months of the 90s.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Is it a 90s show?
Well, as far as, like, in concept, it still kind of is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. Well, it's a different level of the same concept because it's still Law and Order. It's but it's a different part of Law and Order.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's still part of that thing. I liked Criminal Intent. I just didn't like the fact that Criminal Intent had like followed different detectives at different times. Like it was like how Law and Order has the detectives and there's different detectives, but with Criminal Intent.
It changed too much. There was no continuity in the cast.
A stretch of episodes with Vincent D'Onofrio's character, and then he would be gone for like 4 or 5 episodes. Like him and his partner are gone, and then there's another cop, which I think was Jeff Goldblum and his partner.
No, that was the different season. Like it was.
But they would mix it up. Like in the middle of the season, things would change.
You sure about that? Because I could have swore
I was until you started questioning.
I could have swore it was Vincent D'Onofrio for like the first 2 seasons, and then was it Jeff Goldblum?
I think so.
Took over for Vincent D'Onofrio.
But then Vincent D'Onofrio was still there though. He'd keep coming back, and him and his partner, which was what's her name? I can't remember her name.
I don't remember. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up.
I worked afternoons, so I would never get a chance to really watch it. I would only catch it on reruns.
Yeah.
So. I don't know, because that was back in the day when you didn't have TiVo, and you didn't have streaming. So if you missed shit, you missed it.
I will say that we didn't have TiVo, but we had DVR. I used to DVR stuff all the time.
Yeah, but it was
we probably got that like that might have been like 2003.
Right.
No, that'd be because we had it before Jack was born. Jack was born in 2004, so.
Right.
Yeah, it's probably 2002.
2002, 2003, yeah.
I was trying to see when Vincent D'Onofrio was in. What if I just look up list of characters?
You know what? I think I'm still in Wikipedia. If I am,
I was trying to see like an episode breakdown of how many episodes he was in. Because I know Vincent D'Onofrio was only in the first 2 seasons. Oh, here we go. List of Criminal Intent characters. So Jeff Goldblum didn't come in until season 8.
Mm-hmm. Seasons 1 through 4 focused on D'Onofrio's character. Seasons 5 through 8 was Mike Logan. I don't know who played him.
Mike Logan. Well, that was Chris Noth.
Okay. Oh, when he was from first Law and Order, right? Wasn't he in the first?
Yes.
Okay. And season 8 and 9 featured Zach Nichols. Oh, and then in season 10, Vincent D'Onofrio comes back as the lead characters.
Yeah. So I don't think it changed that much. I mean, there was, like I said, there just wasn't any like continuity.
Right.
It changed a lot. But I don't know. It wasn't quite. It wasn't on the same level as some of the other shows.
I enjoyed it though. Like I said, I enjoyed that one. I liked Vincent D'Onofrio's character.
Yeah, I will say another great '90s show, and probably one of my favorites, was that '70s show.
Yeah. Are you excited about that '90s show?
Are they actually doing it?
Yeah, they've already finished filming it. It's just coming, and everyone's coming back except for Danny Masterson because he's a rapist.
Because he's a rapist.
Yeah. Well, allegedly. He's still on trial.
Yeah, his trial starts in August.
Yeah.
So
we'll say allegedly for right now, but it's one of those situations. It's kind of like Amber Heard. It's like there's a lot of smoke there.
There is a lot of smoke there.
Yeah.
With Amber Heard, though, there was a lot of poop there too.
Oh Jesus! What has our society become? They got more airtime than anything in the world. Anything else in the world while it was going on.
I know. I was trying to think. I was trying to look up Twin Peaks. I was never a big.
I've never
Twin Peaks
watched
fan.
it, to be honest with you.
No?
Yeah, I've never watched it. I've wanted to. I can see why it would be appealing based on what I know of it, but yeah, I never got around to watching it. I think the 90s was when things started to change, though. You know, the 80s was great for sitcoms, too. There were a lot of great sitcoms in the 80s. And some of them were holdovers from the 70s, but for the most part, there were a lot of good ones in the 80s.
Yeah.
But the 90s is where things were starting to amp up because there was this kind of shift in dynamics in terms of, like, what you could get away with on television.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Or NYPD Blue. I never really liked it, but that was huge.
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff going on. There were a lot of great miniseries that were produced back then in the 90s. Stephen King's It was 1990.
Yeah.
The Stand, which was the original, was 94?
Something like that.
When it came out,
Mid-90s.
I've rewatched it, and then I watched Paramount's new version of it. The original's still better.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Visually, the new one's way better, but the way they did it was still better in the 90s version. I think Star Trek was at its peak in the 90s.
I would agree with you on that.
I mean, still again a holdover from the 80s, late 80s, but still,
Yeah.
there was a lot of output and a lot of quality output in the 90s.
Another great '90s show, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah, that was a good show. It was never my favorite show, but I always watched it when it was on.
watched it. Same with Beverly Hills 90210. I was never a huge fan of the show, but it was huge.
Right.
Home Improvement. I watched Home Improvement all the damn time.
I look back on it and don't know why I liked it so much because I
What?
don't really get it anymore. It's like it's not funny to me anymore.
What, Home Improvement?
Home Improvement, yeah.
Yeah, some of it was funny.
It was funny at the time.
It was a good. There's a lot of really good like character dynamics. I think in that show.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of good shows back then. I mean, Roseanne, which again was still
Those
kind of a holdover
80s.
for the. Most of it was in the 90s.
You're right. But when I think of Roseanne, I think like I don't know.
I think 90s.
Do you think 90s?
Yeah, I think 90s because it ran until like 1997.
Yeah.
So it ran almost the entirety of the decade.
Mm-hmm.
I think of the 90s.
I guess that's a fair point.
There were a lot of shows that came and went that were really good too. News Radio,
Yeah, that was a great one.
George Carlin's show, which only lasted I think 1 or 2 seasons. That was hilarious. That cracked me up.
The Ben Stiller show,
The Ben Stiller show,
which was hilarious too.
and to be fair, Saturday Night Live was at its peak in the 90s, and especially in the early 90s.
Yeah,
I mean you had the, in my opinion, one of the best lineups. You had Adam Sandler, David Spade, Chris Rock.
That was definitely great.
You know, so. And all of those guys went on to bigger and better things.
Yeah. Ooh, another hidden gem from the 90s.
What's that?
Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yes, which is still going strong today.
Yeah, surprisingly enough.
Yeah.
Stargate was a 90s show. Mm-hmm. Mr. Bean was the 90s? Yeah, 90.
Yeah, I never liked it, but it was
1995, yeah.
huge. It was definitely huge in the UK.
Yeah. Melrose Place. That was a huge show. I never watched it.
Yeah.
Blossom. I forgot about that show.
Yeah.
What was the other show? My So-Called Life. It's kind of a Blossom kind of ish show.
No. Blossom was goofy. My
Oh.
So-Called Life was pure drama.
Yeah, I know, but it was like still, it was, I don't know. I guess it was, you're right. It wasn't the same kind of show, but it was like the girl.
Appealing to a certain
Yeah.
demographic,
Yeah.
sure. But again, that's kind of an example again of what I was saying about how things were changing and people were getting away with more in writing and being able to put things out there, new ideas of things.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
because
that show had-
Blossom was a lot more like tied to the 80s,
Right.
where My So-Called Life was definitely
very 90s.
Very 90s.
Yes. I mean, you had gay teenage characters in that
Yes.
show. And you had actual gay actors playing those roles.
Oh, Spin City, that's another classic
Oh yeah,
90s show.
It's kind of underappreciated in this day and
Yeah.
age, I think.
Did you ever see the new sitcom or the last sitcom that he did?
Michael J. Fox?
I think it was called the Michael J. Fox Show or something like that.
No, I don't recall.
It was probably within the last 10 years, I want to say he did it. It only lasted for like one season, but it played him as
someone suffering from Parkinson's.
Yes, yeah. And I thought it was a good show, but I knew it wasn't going to last.
Yeah, people don't want to see
Because
it.
that's really grueling for an actor to go through.
Oh,
that.
true, very true. Especially I get that.
Physically grueling. Everybody loves Raymond. That was another big. I was never a big fan
Yeah,
of the
I know.
show.
I
But
never liked it.
it was a huge show. Wings. I used to watch Wings.
Oh
all the
yeah,
damn
my
time.
dad loved Wings.
Martin. I used to love. I loved
Martin was good. I did like Martin. In Living Color was the 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's Married with Children, and that kind of came up at the same time.
I've got a couple of like kid shows, but Doug and Rugrats.
See, we were a little older.
We were a
for
little
that.
older.
Yeah, we weren't. Well, I wasn't watching cartoons other than maybe like Ren and Stimpy on
Yeah.
TV.
What about dinosaurs? I used to love the fucking dinosaurs.
Yeah, my sister liked
that
it.
was 1991 to 1994, so I
Right.
was like early mid.
I just
early
like the
90s.
fact that show ended on such a downer.
What was it?
The end of the dinosaurs. It was the meteor was coming.
Yeah, they were extinct.
Yeah.
That's right. Beavis and Butthead, which I think you already mentioned.
Well, I mentioned.
Oh, you said
Ren
Ren
and
and
Stimpy.
Stimpy, so
Yeah.
that's
But
kind of.
MTV, I mean, you had Remote Control.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Singled Out.
Well, the remote control was in the 80s.
I only remember watching it in the 90s.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure it started in the 80s.
It might have, but
I thought it was like 87 or something like that when it started.
It might have started that early, but I remember watching it in the 90s. So
But let me see here. I remember, Adam Sandler was on that. That was great. It was a great show.
yeah, I loved the Remote Control.
It ran from 1987 to 1990.
Then I must have been watching reruns in the 90s.
Yeah, you must have been.
But then they had Singled Out, and that was big because that was what Jenny McCarthy's.
Singled Out.
Yeah, it was like a dating show on
Oh,
MTV.
yeah. Third Rock from the Sun. That was a big show.
That was a big show. I like that one.
Animaniacs.
Animaniacs.
Another kid's show. What's the Magic School Bus? I don't know what that is.
Well, that's from the 70s.
No, this says it ran from 1994 to 1997.
Wasn't there a Magic School Bus cartoon in the 90s
Probably.
in the 70s?
I'm sure there was. Oz.
Yeah, I never liked that one.
Yeah.
A little too dark for my tastes.
Daria.
Daria, I like
Quantum Leap. I used to watch Quantum Leap all the fucking time.
Absolutely, yeah. The 90s was big for. It was when sci-fi was finally starting to be taken a little bit more seriously,
Yeah.
and you can see that with a lot of those shows.
Yeah. Married with Children was a 90s
Yep,
show.
Yeah, I love.
Even though it started in 87, but that's a 90s show.
Yeah, but it ran to like 95.
The Adventures of Pete and Pete.
I never watched it.
I never watched it either. It was on Nickelodeon, but I knew what it was. Kids in the Hall.
Oh, God,
shit.
yes.
Yeah. God.
We love that.
Yeah,
Did you know Amazon Prime brought that back?
Did they really?
Yeah, there's a whole new season of it.
Oh, nice.
I haven't
check it
had
out.
a chance to watch it yet, but I just found that out within the last week or two.
Really?
Yep.
A show I used to watch religiously every week was Unsolved Mysteries.
Yep.
Mr. Show with Bob and Dave.
It's a big one.
Murphy Brown. Full House. Full House.
It was always too just.
That started in 87. That was an 80s sitcom. I know it ran until the mid 90s, but that was an 80s sitcom.
If it ran more than half of the decade, I still.
It went from 87 to 95. It's still a fucking 80s sitcom, though. Like, the whole, like, tone of the show and everything was 80s. In Living Color, which I think you already mentioned.
Yeah, I did.
That was a great one. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I was never a big fan.
Well, that started in the 90s, but ran until 2004, I think.
2003. Ran from 97 to 03. Boy Meets World, which I never watched that either.
Yeah, never watched
Obviously,
that
The Simpsons I used to watch religiously.
Of course.
Saved by the Bell. Which have you watched the new one?
I still haven't watched it. My sister loved Saved by the Bell. I could never really stand it.
Oh, I used to love Saved by the Bell.
It wasn't my gig, you know.
The crazy thing is, it only ran for 4 years, from 89 to 93.
Yeah, well, that was their high school years.
Yeah, I know, but
because then they did the college years.
Oh well, yeah, I guess that's not including that. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, the new one's actually pretty good. I liked it. A lot of people don't though. But the Wonder Years, I used to watch the Wonder Years all the time. Freaks and Geeks, I don't know what that is.
Oh, it only ran one season. It was Judd Apatow's first show, and I think a lot of the actors that were on that are, I think Seth Rogen was on there. It was his first thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I see a lot.
James Franco, his first kind of big thing.
Yeah, there's this other guy. I don't know what his name is, but he's sitting off to the side. I know who he is too. Yeah. Another big one from the '90s was the X-Files, which I was never a big fan of the X-Files.
Yeah, I never got into X-Files either.
Why is the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air on this list twice? I don't know why, but it is. My So-Called Life, which I already mentioned.
Yep.
That ran for most of the night. Oh, I guess not.
I think it only ran 2 or 3 seasons. My So-Called Life.
Hold on a second here. It only had 19 episodes.
Oh, I thought it was at least 2 seasons.
No, it aired 94 to 95. Yeah. It only had 19 episodes.
Oh, interesting. I remember it being quite popular too, which is weird.
That's really short. I didn't realize it was so short. Twin Peaks, and then of course they got Friends at number 1. So.
Right. Well, Friends I think is the defining show of the 90s.
Yeah,
Would you agree?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
At least in terms of comedy shows. I mean, there's probably other shows that you could say define the 90s in different ways, but Friends is really kind of, in my opinion, in the same way that MASH defined the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, or the Cosby Show might be argued to have defined the 80s.
Yeah. I think like overall, there are great sitcoms
in every decade,
and great primetime shows in the 80s, and there's a bunch of great ones in the 2000s. But I think just the overall quality and like the staying power,
it was consistency
of a lot of those shows in the 90s. I think is why I kind of give it the edge.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree, and I mean, there might be a little bit of biasness to, or biases, whatever the word was. Bias, yeah. It's bias. On our part, because that's when we were growing up. You know, I mean, we grew up with the 80s stuff too, but the 90s was like our teen years.
Yeah.
And that
our coming of age years.
Our coming of age years, where we were able to stay up a little later to watch some of the shows and all that. I will say, as far as like 80s go, and reboots and new, coming back to these shows, I'm looking forward to this new Night Court.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they pull it off.
Because I love Night Court.
I used to watch Night Court all the time.
I love that show, and even when I didn't really get it because it was on in the 80s when I was young, I kind of got it, but I love Night Court, and I'm really kind of excited to see what this reboot does, and of course that 90s show, because it's our decade. I mean, let's see how accurate they get it.
And they tried to do that 80s show, and I think it lasted a season.
Well, I think with the 80s show, it wasn't connected to the 70s show. That's why it hurt it. If they'd have been like in the same town or something.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised they got everyone to come back.
Well, no one's doing anything. I mean,
they are. What's his name? Topher Grace has that big sitcom.
Well, he's only coming back periodically. It's not like he's the main character.
Yeah. And by the way, I like that. What's the name?
Home Economics?
Yeah, that's a great TV
I haven't watched it yet. I actually just saw that it was on Hulu, and I put it in my watch list. So
yeah, I've been watching it. I watched the whole first couple of seasons, I think it is.
ABC has kind of been hitting it really good with their sitcoms. I mean, Modern Family I watch it here and there, and I
Modern Family was great.
Yeah, I mean, I was enjoyed it when it was on, but Single Parents was a great show. It only lasted 1 or 2 seasons.
Yeah, it wasn't on very long.
But it was a great show. What's another one that, honestly, as much as I dislike laugh tracks, I love The Conners.
Yeah, I haven't watched it.
I mean,
I watched a couple of the first. I think I've seen maybe 1 or 2 episodes after Roseanne left the show.
Right.
But
the problem is it's an outdated style of sitcom.
Yeah.
Because it's still basically it's it's being shot and acted in the same way that it was in the 80s.
In the 80s, yeah.
And it doesn't...
It might not translate.
It doesn't... even for me, it doesn't translate sometimes. It gets a little daunting. But for what it's worth, it's a fun show, and it's got a lot of heart, and I like it.
Yeah.
So
Well, no,
I watch a lot of TV.
I don't,
Yeah.
because I just don't have a whole lot of time. Or I dedicate my time
differently
to different things. But I don't know. 90s is great for television. That's all I got.
Great for music too.
Yeah, great for.
It was a
music.
great decade to be.
It was
us,
great.
You know.
Yeah, it was.
I miss it. I miss it a lot.
I think of the 90s were so great because I was a part of it. That's why it was all me. All me. Nope.
Bullshit.
All right. Any questions or comments, you can email us at, what's our email address, Ian?
lifeingeneralpod@gmail.com.
gmail.com. You can check us out on Facebook, and that's about all we got. Until next time,
Talk to y'all later.
peace.
Play my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, I'm about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Yo, old lady, drop a guard around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the ring. Got you some GoPros, you wanna hang. Shoulder to shoulder, the niggas basic. You know I won't lie. You know that I ain't for that fuck shit. You niggas alright, but I'm way better and she love it. Know that y'all sick as fuck. Here go this tissue, bro. We taking the dub. Hoping you get you some. This hit like a pick me up. She taking my drugs. Know they see the sign. That's some dollar signs. Know they sick as fuck. Know they sick as fuck. Tell them get well soon. Tell them get well soon. Know you sick as fuck. Get well soon.
Oh shit. Watch out, you the car, Billy. Oh shit. Right now, and I'm smiling in your face, bitch. With a gold smile, you should probably make placement to your eye. Niggas sick as fuck. Standing with niggas who down for that party. Who down for some bitches who showing their bodies. Swear